Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Miss Jordan and today in Feast at Home, we're going to be making kale chips. Our bunch of kale is a super special bunch of kale because some of it is starting to turn yellow. Kale usually is green, but sometimes when it gets a little bit older, it starts to turn yellow. And most people just throw it out. You can actually turn yellowed kale into yummy, beautiful kale chips. It doesn't change the taste. All right, so here we have our recipe. A recipe is a non-fiction text that tells you how to make food. There's a title. Ours says Kale Chips. And then there's a list of ingredients. These are the food things that you need to make your recipe. There won't be a list of other materials that you need, but as we read the recipe, we'll be able to figure out some of the other stuff that you'll need from your kitchen. So we'll need 1 bunch of kale, 1 tablespoon of oil, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So let's break some of these things down. So first, TBSP in all capital letters means tablespoon. TSP in all lowercase letters means teaspoon. A tablespoon is bigger than a teaspoon, and we'll look at that when we get into making our recipe. Now this number is a fraction. If you've never seen that before, what that means is that it's a part of something. So there's 1 line and 2. And today, all you need to know about that is that to read this number, we would say 1/2, okay? This number is like a new kind of number, and you read it just like you would read a word, 1/2, because it has multiple parts to it. Now we're going to get into our directions.
So, our directions tell us that first we're going to wash the kale and pat it dry with a towel. Number 2, we're going to preheat the oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 3, remove leaves from stems. Number 4, tear leaves into bite-sized pieces. Number 5, combine oil, salt, and kale in a bowl. Number 6, lay kale in a single layer on a pan. Number 7, bake for 5 minutes, then stir. Repeat until kale is crispy and the edges are brown. And then number 8, enjoy. So when you're reading these kinds of directions, the first thing that we need to point out are things that we're going to need that were not listed up here. So that's measuring spoons, bowl, pan, oven mitt, stirring spoon or spatula, and a cutting board. That's all that we need today to make our kale chips. So let's get started.
So here we have our first leaf of kale. I'm going to show you how to tear the leafy part off of the big, thick stem. By holding the end of the stem with one hand, taking your pinchy fingers like this, pinch, 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 and use your other fingers to pinch, and you're just going to pull the stem through your fingers. And then you can use it to make a magic wand. Abracadabra, become kale chips! I guess it doesn't work quite like that. So we'll set that aside for now. Now I'm going to tear these pieces a little bit smaller and put them in a bowl and tear the rest up. Are you ready? Here we go. Tear the kale, tear the kale, tear the kale, tear the kale. Kale for breakfast, kale for lunch, kale for dinner, any old way. Kale for breakfast, kale for lunch, kale for dinner, any old way, any old way. Last one. There we go. All right, now I've got this big, beautiful pile of kale. I'm not going to tear it all at once. I'm just going to take a little bit at a time, tear it, throw it in the bowl. The pieces should be about this size. You don't want them to be too small or else they'll burn. So a nice big chunk like that. Tear the kale, tear the kale, tear the kale, tear the kale, tearing kale. All right, these little bits are gonna go in. And next, we're gonna add the oil and the salt. So the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon. Remember, the tablespoon is the biggest spoon. See, there are all these other different sizes of measuring spoons. They all fit together because they're different fractions of each other. The tablespoon is its own thing though. The others are teaspoons. And the spoons will usually tell you what they are. So see, this says teaspoon, and it says it's 1/4 teaspoon. 1 line 4. That's a fraction. And if you've never seen that before, well, now you have. So we're gonna look for the 1 teaspoon. or nope, 1 tablespoon. Aha, gotta make sure you check your recipe. So see, it says 1 tablespoon. Sometimes it'll say TBSP. That's just like a short nickname for tablespoon. So I'm gonna hold my tablespoon over my bowl as I pour in my olive oil. Fill the spoon all the way up, because this is, remember, measuring. And then drizzle, 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 drizzle. Then make sure you wipe out your spoon so you don't drip oil everywhere. Next, I need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So remember, these little teaspoons have different numbers. I'm gonna look for the one with a 2 on it, because that's what 1/2 means. 1/2. And a teaspoon is smaller than a tablespoon, and sometimes its nickname is TSP. Gotta train your eyeballs so you see the difference between TBSP and TSP. So, here's another trick. I'm gonna open my salt up so that I can scoop the salt. And I'm gonna make sure that it's flat and full, and then sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. And then I'm gonna wipe out that spoon. You can't see it, but it's happening. And next I'm going to mix the kale. Mix, mix the kale. Mix it up and massage in that oil and salt. Oil and salt. Next, I'm gonna go get a pan and put it in. All right, here we have our pan. I made kale chips earlier, so there's still a little bit of kale chips left. I'm gonna pour on the kale. Whee! And then I'm gonna spread it all out. I want every piece to have its own space. You don't want your kale all bunched up and clumped up on top of itself, or else it will be not crispy. All right, and now we're gonna go to the oven. Go to the oven. There's the oven. Let's open our hot oven and put in our kale. You need an oven mitt so you don't burn your hand. Hello. You know, oven mitts really could be puppets too. I'm an oven mitt. I get a lot of use in this kitchen. All right, here we go. Going in the oven. No, don't cook me. Ah, bye-bye, kale. We're setting a timer for 5 minutes so that we can stir it and make sure it doesn't burn. It's time to check our kale with Mama Mitt do 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 do. Mama Mitt do 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 do. Mama Mitt do 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 do. Mama Mitt pulls out kale do 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 do. Gets a spatula do 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 to stir do 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 to stir. Kale's still soft do 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 do. Kale's still soft do 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 do. Still soft do 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 do. Needs more. Time to cook do 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 do. Time to cook do 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 do. Don't burn yourself do 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 do. There we go. 5 more minutes on the timer, starting now. All right, let's check them again. This time we've got Daddy Mitt do 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 do. Daddy Mitt do 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 do. Daddy Mitt do 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 do. Daddy Mitt pulls the tray do 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 do. Gets the spatula do 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 do. Here we go. You see how the edges are getting a little bit brown? That's how we know it's done, when it's crispy and a little bit brown. So now I'm going to take them out of the oven. Because the pan is hot, I'm not going to put it straight on my counter. I'm going to set it up on the stove, or if you don't have much space on your stove, you can put down another oven mitt or some kind of towel or something so you don't burn your counter. And now we have kale chips. Our kale chips are done, and now is the best part, getting to eat them. I can't wait to try. Yummy. Delicious. A little salty. Maybe next time I'll put less salt in. That's something that we always learn when we try our food. That maybe we want to change something next time. Or you can sometimes change it right then and there. Like if there wasn't enough salt, I could just add more. It's always good to undersalt your food and then add a little more later. But that's something that every chef has to figure out with their own taste buds. Thank you for joining me for Feast at Home in my kitchen. I'm Miss Jordan, and I can't wait to cook with you again.